During my undergrad, I took a cultural anthropology course, and one of the main things I remember learning from that class that just kind of stuck with me and still sticks with me until today is the fact that religion is a cultural universal. No matter how far back you go in time, no matter what place on the planet you go and what archaeological remains you dig up, there's always evidence throughout every civilization, dating back to when we were painting pictures on cave walls, that shows some kind of evidence of religion, some kind of evidence of us as humans believing in a power that was bigger than ourselves and that is bigger than ourselves. And also, in a way, showing we're not alone and that we have no desire to be alone, that we weren't even made to be alone. Even the way we reproduce more of us requires more than us. Of course, there are instances in nature where there are animals who can reproduce asexually, like Komodo dragons and zebra sharks, starfish, and even some ants. But on a whole, in nature, and especially in human nature, another seed, another component, another person is required to create life. And so set a thought about how some of us try so hard to be alone. We believe that we're safer alone. We believe that we're more productive alone. And I've even seen it in myself, especially in professional or scholastic projects. I'd rather just do it myself and be alone. But the truth is, we're always better together. We're always better when we have a purpose that's bigger than us, greater than us. It pushes us outside of ourselves, outside of our own personally imposed limitations. Let's take an example that's a little closer to heart. Think about being in love. Think about a time in your life when it was just you and you were just living for yourself. And of course, there are times when we're, in our independent mode where we are happy and we are content. But if you notice, there always comes a time when we start to look around and think, hey, I think I want somebody too. Or, hey, life's been really great alone, but dude, I kind of wish I could enjoy this sunset with somebody else, or this trip with somebody else, or this bed with somebody else. And then think about the times where it went from you being alone watching the sunset to you watching the sunset with somebody else, and not just anybody else, but somebody else you loved. When you went on that trip with somebody else, and not just any somebody else, but somebody you loved. Or when you went to bed with that somebody else, and not just any somebody else, but somebody you love. Makes a difference, right? Life feels different, right? For some reason, each day you wake up, you feel renewed and full of purpose because you're no longer just living life for yourself. You have something to look forward to, someone to take care of. And not just romantic love. Let's even talk about the love of being a parent. How many times as a parent have you just felt like giving up on life? And it's the love of your children, the fact that they need you, which pulls you through and out to the other side. When you start to focus on something outside of yourself that's bigger than yourself, you start to accomplish things you never thought you would accomplish. You start to conquer feats that you once believed to be unconquerable. It's something about believing in something greater than ourselves. It's something about serving something outside of ourselves. It's something about when we take the focus off of ourselves and onto somebody or something else. It gives us a different kind of purpose, a different kind of drive. It gives us a reason not to just live, but to literally thrive. Like, it gives us purpose. And yes, it's important, to be able to do that independently. For those that just are, nope, I can do it myself. Okay, wonderful you. But if you really kind of talk to those people, right, you'll find trauma in their past. You'll find where they tried loving someone else, living with someone else, having a purpose, that included someone else that was greater than themselves, and they were hurt or betrayed or taken advantage of. And so as a way to cope, they go inside of themselves and they believe that they don't need anybody else and that they really are better off alone. But you're not, and you'll never be better off alone. Life is not a solo sport. It's meant to be played with others. Don't be afraid to experience the fullness of life with another or with something higher than you, other than you. Because maybe it didn't work out the first time. Shoot, maybe it didn't work out the 5th time. But we're Christians, right? And it's all about hope, and it's all about believing. And let's say, one church hurt you when you were open and trying to receive God into your life, and they took advantage of you while you were open. Fine, do not go back to that church. Never go back to those people. But that's not the only place you can go. That's not the only place that you can be. And there are places out there where you can feel safe and where you can feel open. Don't let a bad experience disconnect you from the love that is God. And don't let a bad experience disconnect you from the love you can experience with other humans. This is how the devil deceives us. This is how the devil tricks us, by separating us from one another, by separating us from the love of God, by forcing us into the darkness because of our fears, and out of the light because we're scared to be seen, because we're scared to share, because we're scared to believe, because we're scared to love. I want you to try something. I want you to light a candle in a dark room. And when you light the candle, I want you to only face the direction of the candle. Don't even let your eyes sway to the left or to the right. And you'll notice that as long as your eyes are focused in the direction of the light, you will see no shadows. But once you take your focus off of the direction of the light, shadows start to creep in from the sides. And that's even you just moving your eyes from side to side. If you turn yourself completely to the left or completely to the right, you'll start to see shadows. And if you turn yourself away from the light completely, you won't even see the shadows. All you'll see is darkness. Try this when you're feeling lost. Try this when you feel like your focus is straying away from the light, away from love, away from God, away from closeness and togetherness with others, especially those who love you. Let this be a reminder. Let that exercise be a reminder to always keep your focus straight and only in the direction of the light. Because when you don't see any shadows, you don't fear. When all you see is the light, you feel safe, you feel protected, you feel assured, you feel like you have direction, you feel hope. And when you start to turn to the side even a little bit, depending on how bright your light is and also depending on how dark that room is, you start to see shadows. And shadows make you afraid because you're getting glimpses of the dark trying to take over and supersede the light. And so you get afraid that the light is waning, that the light is losing. Hope is slipping. That feeling of safety and security starts to slowly slip away with it. And then when you give up on the light completely and turn fully to the darkness, you're lost. And in this case, what is a turn fully to the dark? It's a complete reliance on self. It's a complete rejection of others. It's a complete separation from love. Or in other words, a complete separation from God. Because God is love. And it doesn't matter what reason you try to put on it, what excuse you try to make for it. At some point, you decided to turn away from the light. Nobody turned you away from the light. Yes, negative experiences do have heavy influences on which direction we decide to turn, but ultimately the decision is ours. And it's okay if you find yourself turn to the left or to the right, you're starting to feel overcome by shadows, or even if you found yourself turned completely towards the dark, there's always hope. The the light is still there, either right beside you or right behind you. Like, okay, dear, this sounds nice, but it's hard to turn. You got that right. Sometimes it feels way easier to turn away from the light than to turn back towards it. Even though that sounds oxymoronic, it's just the way that it is. But that's when we got to go into our toolbox. That's when we got to start doing some heavy lifting, healing work, spiritually and mentally and emotionally, and in some ways physically. We have to start our healing journeys. Healing is what turns us away from the darkness. Healing is what turns us away from the shadows. And healing is what puts our focus back on the light. And some of us have longer journeys than others. And that's okay. And yeah, that ain't fair either. But once again, this is where we can choose to focus on the light. Focusing on the unfairness of how long your healing journey has to be as opposed to someone else's, that's turning towards the shadows. Refusing to heal altogether, well, that's a complete about face towards the dark. But choosing to heal, that's us turning towards the light. And keep in mind, if you're a person that's been stuck in the dark for a long time, when you start to see the shadows, that's going to feel a little more scary than just looking into the pitch black dark. You get used to the void after being in it for a while. It starts to feel safe, comfortable, like home, because it blinds out all the things that can cause you fear. It doesn't let the light penetrate the things you're unwilling to see or unwilling to face. The demons which must be slayed, which reside with you in that dark place that you become so used to. You start to see them as family instead of as fiends who feed off of you. Start your healing journey. Please start your healing journey in Jesus' name. Start turning towards the side, away from the darkness. Face the scary big shadows in your journey towards the marvelous light. No, it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. And I promise, if you're willing to do the work, you'll get there. And you'll get there even faster if you get someone to help. If you reach out and ask for help. Well, dear, who am I supposed to ask? The people you love, the people you trust. And I promise you, do this exercise if you're not sure. Well, I don't know if I could trust anyone. I'm not really sure about this person. Sit quietly to yourself. Pray in your mind. Jesus, who can I trust to help me? Before you can even finish the question, a face will pop into your mind. A name, an image, even a place will pop into your head. And it's the first thing. Do not question it. If the first face, image, person, or place that pops into your mind is probably the last place you would have ever thought to go, please know that this thought was divinely inspired, that it didn't come from you, which is one of the reasons why I always try to tell people, trust the thoughts you have without thinking, because the thoughts you have without thinking are actually divine intervention. It's actually the Holy Spirit being able to communicate with you because you opened yourself to it. And all you have to do is be willing to listen. So if you're not sure about where to start on this journey or how to start on this journey, first place you go is to ask. As it says in Matthew 7:7-8, ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh, receiveth. And he that seeketh, findeth. And to him that knocketh, it shall be opened. And so on this journey back towards the light, step one is to ask. Ask for help. Go to our first source, the source outside of ourselves that's bigger than ourselves, where we feel love greater than ourselves. Jesus, I need help. I'm asking you to help me. And I'm asking you to show me where I can go to find the help I need for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, however long your alphabet go. List it. Be honest with yourself and be honest with your Lord. Like, you're not hiding nothing from him. You're just hiding from yourself. He sees exactly who you are, what you are, as you are. So be upfront and honest in your conversation with him. What you mean in my conversation with him when you pray to him? Be honest in that. And when you ask, he'll give you a direction to go, but you got to be willing to take his advice. That first thought that comes to your brain, the thought you have without thinking, and it's usually the thought that makes the least sense, which is how you know it's spiritual. Only natural things make sense. Spiritual things rarely ever make sense. And we're talking about going on a spiritual healing journey here. So don't look for a lot of things to make sense. Just look for a lot of miracles to happen when you follow the guidance that you're given. Not the guidance that you modify or alter to make sense to you. No, purely and truly the guidance given to you as it is given. As nonsensical as it may seem, follow it to the letter. And watch your journey become easier. Watch miraculous solutions appear as you need them. So first ask, and Jesus, he'll send you in the right direction if you're receptive, if you're listening, if you're willing to be obedient rather than sacrifice. And as you take that step and as you seek, you will surely find. In Jesus' name.